As the economy has taken a turn for the worst, my clients need to be reassured that I am well informed and have over 10 years investing experience, and that together we will make sure to overcome this obstacle and reach their financial goals. The Cycle of Market Emotions by Westcore Funds showed that my clients are in a state of fear. They are not yet desperate, but they have accepted the fact that their investments are losing value. Now is the time to discuss with them their plan and my plan for their investments. I suggest to all my clients to turn a small amount of assets into cash, a small amount, just in case they need it for short-term liquidity needs or future investments. The future is unpredictable, and the future of the market even more so. Thus, it is important to be prepared. Also, I must ensure they are calm and neutral in their decisions, and it's not the media hype forcing them into choices they don't want to make. Most of my clients are all long-term investors, and hopefully will accept that although their growth is not at the same pace as before, by staying calm and unbiased, we will be able to get through the recession. I will encourage my clients to invest in the middle of the recession because you can only go up from there. Because Bob said he will be faithful to his long-term investment plan, there shouldn't be too many changes made. However, to keep the portfolio less volatile in these economically dark times, he should think about changing his portfolio slightly to 65% equities and 35% bonds, rather than 70% equities and 30% bonds. This will help him create the growth he needs to retire in a short period of time, but also reduce the risk equities produce. Mr. Miller has had tremendous losses with Suncor and oil and gas as they fell from $72 to $27 in a few months. As Mr. Miller said he won't change his strategy due to short-term losses such as that, it is so important to reassure him as he is afraid of losing his entire retirement funds. And it is crucial to reassure Mr. Miller that after a recession there are huge surges in oil and gasoline, but if the losses are worrying him too much, then for the time being, Bob can remove some of his assets in oil and invest in the Canadian housing market, as it isn't as affected as the American market. This shouldn't be a problem for Mr. Miller because he has previously invested in Canadian oil and gas. Mr. Miller is a rather emotional investor, and I, Rudy Wong, will encourage him to stay the course like planned. Bob is looking for emotional support rather than logical support. Thus, being there for Bob to reassure and clarify what he's hearing on the news and in the media will help him and his investments greatly. Mary Swanson has a very conservative portfolio. It is her awareness and cautiousness that allowed her to generate growth of over $1 million. Therefore, Ms. Swanson should keep her portfolio at 60% equities and 40% bonds to ensure growth and minimal risk. If she is looking to continue her growth during the recession, she can invest in corporate bonds. However, corporate bonds have a very high risk and she may not feel comfortable with it, but it's always an option. Further, Mary wants to switch her equities into cash. This is not a good idea because after the recession is over, Mary will have to buy her assets at a higher price. If she is nervous about her investments, a small percentage can be turned into cash to use as a safety precaution, as well for future investments. It is important to let Mary know that recessions are natural and regular occurrences, and generally after recessions, investments improve. To continue, to reduce some risk, Mary can diversify her portfolio by investing in education. During a recession, jobs available are few, and it sparks interest in education and investing in education. As an esteemed academic, she should be able to see the rewards of education and the investment rewards. Lastly, Ms. Swanson is a practical and logical woman, but she is worrying about switching all of her investments into cash. To keep her mind off of that, Ms. Swanson should look into luxury goods. At the time, luxury goods such as jewelry aren't very popular. Instead, she should look into goods such as artwork and vintage pieces. If she and I can properly appraise them, then it would be useful for the future. Now is a good time to look for bargains. She shouldn't invest a lot in luxury, as no one will buy anything now, but in the future it will be a great investment to have. Jack and Kelly Klein want to make money fast for their retirement, and the only way they can generate enough funds is with equities. However, equities cause a fair amount of risk in a portfolio. I suggest they consider moving to a more conservative plan that will still generate growth. For instance, a 70%-30% portfolio will decrease risk, and then diversifying their assets will help lower risk even more. Their equities are forcing them to have a 50% loss, so they have to understand why they would need to decrease the amount of equities in the portfolio. With the increase of bonds in their portfolio, I suggest they invest in government bonds instead of corporate bonds, which are high risk. Also, gold is increasing in value, so by investing in gold now, in 30 years when they want to retire, their investment will have grown tremendously. We will be able to get through the recession. I will encourage my clients to invest in the middle of the recession because you can only go up from there. Herb and Barb Nichols are in a good spot. Their funds are well protected and less volatile because they invested with dividend funds. However, they have short-term liquidity needs, and with the unstable economy, although they have a steady income, it is suggested they turn some assets into cash for safekeeping. As well, they have high taxes on their dividends, so to save money, they can use Canadian dividends, which use lower fees. Further, Herbert and Barb need to be reassured that after the economic downturn is over, their dedication to their financial plan will reward them. Rudy Wong should pay attention to what the compliance department is saying. They aren't telling him how to do his job, simply making sure he is taking careful consideration on the amount of risk and if the client can afford the risk. The recession was caused by people buying houses and taking mortgages out that they couldn't afford to pay off. Similarly, the economy could worsen if investors are not able to pay off their losses. Thus, Rudy Wong should pay attention and take into careful consideration what the compliance department is telling him.